Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
This is my house.
Welcome to Wake Up Heavy, my weird dad's weird podcast about weird movies.
Hello, and welcome to Wake Up Heavy Recollections of Horror. This is Mark, your host, and today I'm doing another special short episode as a lead-up to Taxi Driver Season 2 premiere of Wake Up Heavy on the 1976 Nicholas Gessner movie, The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane.
They called her the little girl who lives down the lane. All alone in that big house. Who was she? And what was her secret? A lot of people wondered. Like Mario, the local comedian.
Somebody's out there.
Officer Miglioretti, the local cop.
I don't believe what you've been telling me about your father.
You're a very pretty girl, you know that? Pretty eyes.
Frank Hallett, the local creep. And nasty Mrs. Hallett, the local gossip.
Mrs. Hallett, I'm warning you!
I want to know what's been happening here in this house. I want to know what happened here today!
I think I should warn you that the police are watching our house right this very minute, Mr. Hallett.
Aren't you scared?
Of what?
Of being alone. No one will know about us.
I never knew how much I needed you.
Now listen to me, young lady. I know you're up to something.
Go in that study, Mrs. Hallett, and I tell my father about your son. I even had to ask him why the police don't do anything about it.
Why should they do anything?
When your son gives candy to pretty little girls.
Academy Award nominee Jodie Foster, Martin Sheen, Alexis Smith.
Get out of here!
The little girl who lives down the lane.
As I'm sure you can tell, my voice is still a bit nasally from this cold that I am still getting over. Hopefully that will clear up before we get too deep into the Taxi Driver episode. I have an interview lined up tomorrow and will most likely still kind of sound like this. So, I don't know, maybe it sounds better than my regular voice. The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane was one of 5 movies made in 1976 starring Jodie Foster. The other 4 are Echoes of a Summer, Bugsy Malone, Taxi Driver, and Freaky Friday. Not necessarily in that order. And not all of the movies actually came out in 1976. This movie premiered at the 1976 Cannes Film Festival, which is the same one that Taxi Driver premiered at and won. It didn't get distribution in the US until almost a year later, summer of 1977. And so I think it opened in other countries in 76 and early 77. Taxi Driver was, of course, shot in 1975 and released in the winter of 1976. And then the other movies, I'm sure, were shot within 1975 and 76, and it just depended on how quickly they got them out into theaters. But it was a busy year for her regardless. And this is probably one of the first movies that I remember Jodie Foster from. I remember seeing this on TV back in either the late 70s or very early 80s. I know I was still pretty young because the movie actually kind of freaked me out. And watching it now, it's not really all that scary. It's not so much a horror movie. It's more of a mystery. There are a few kind of spooky elements, but part of the thing that freaked me out were the aspects of the film that I didn't really comprehend. And that's sort of what I'm going to base most of this episode on.
It's time for another tangent.
Sorry, I have to pause right in the middle of a thought here and say that I just got delivered a new pop filter or windscreen for this microphone. And so I'm trying it out instead of the one that I had fashioned myself out of different household items. And so I'm hearing some more of those plosives that I had basically gotten rid of. So I don't know how well this one's going to work. Maybe I just need to back off the mic a little bit and talk louder. If you notice that it's real poppy again like it had been in the past, let me know. I'll go back to the old jerry-rigged one that I made, but I was hoping that this would kind of solve my problem, and I don't know how well it's working. Jodie Foster stars as Rynn Jacobs, a 13-year-old living in a seaside village in Quebec, Canada. She has been living in this quaint little town for a couple of months with her poet father. The townspeople consider them outsiders. Rynn is content to live on her own, but she is constantly being interrupted by people from town. Most notably, the real estate agent who has leased this house to them for 3 years, her son, one of the police officers in town, and his nephew. It seems that everyone who comes to visit wants to talk to her father, but there is always some excuse about his absence. It's this mystery about her father that kind of threw me off and sort of freaked me out as a kid, as I thought it was very strange for this girl to be kind of living on her own, taking care of herself, and I think it kind of fed into a fear of mine, of an irrational fear of my parents disappearing, and it didn't come up a lot as a kid, but every once in a while, I think I would wake up from a nap and feel like I was alone in the house and everyone else had disappeared, and where did they go, and what am I going to do, and how am I going to take care of myself? So seeing her in that position, but being totally cool with it, was kind of bizarre to me, and I think fed into a fear that I didn't even realize I had until much later in life. The main threat in the movie is the son of the real estate agent, played by Martin Sheen. It is quite apparent that he is a pedophile, which is something that I completely missed when I watched it as a kid, and gave his appearances at her house a threatening vibe that I just didn't understand, which made it even stranger for me. And it's strange how they characterize him in the movie. I mean, it's, 30-something years old, or 40-something years old, excuse me. The word pedophile is not used. They use...
What is he, a pervert?
But it's very apparent from his first visit to the house on Halloween night that he has unnatural desires toward this 13-year-old girl.
I'm just going along to make sure there aren't any real goblins hanging around, like dirty old men who try to give pretty little girls some candy.
You're a very pretty girl, you know that?
And this is obviously something of an open secret in town. His mother is aware of what he is.
If my son should come back and your father isn't here, it might be better if you didn't let him in.
Well, he didn't ask my permission the first time.
The police officer is aware of what he is.
Son says I'm a pretty girl.
Is that what he said?
What is he, a pervert? I guess that means little girls shouldn't accept candy from me.
Not if they're smart little girls.
Don't worry, I won't.
Rynn figures out pretty quickly what he is. And so that's the real threat to her. And then this mystery aspect of her father and his whereabouts is the other threat to her, because if anyone was to find out the truth, then that would mean her life on her own would be over. After Rynn's first encounter with Frank Hallett, his mother shows up. She's picking crab apples. She lets herself into the house, much like Frank did. And it really has no bearing on the movie whatsoever, but this is a part that has always bugged me, at least in my older age. The lessor or rentor of a building is not allowed to just enter into the property unless they have permission from the lessee. I guess it kind of could be explained away as it's their character. They kind of own the town. They're bigwigs, and everybody's in their back pocket and stuff like that, so they just do whatever the hell they want to do. But Jodie Foster has all the leverage to say, get the hell out of my house, which she does try to do a number of times.
Get out of my house!
But that's just a little bone I have to pick with the realism of the movie. So I had to air that grievance. Mrs. Hallett is insistent on getting some jelly jars out of the cellar of the house, and Rynn does not want to let her do it. She asks her to return when her father is there, or she will get the jelly jars out for her and she or Frank can pick them up later. Mrs. Hallett does not like Rynn, and part of it has to do with the fact that she thinks she is rude, but there is also a touch of the old xenophobia and racism throughout the movie regarding Rynn, and then the police officer who is Italian, and his nephew.
Hebrew. I should think French would be more help. Or Italian. Lord knows there are enough of them around these days to speak it with.
Sure you don't want to give my father a message?
So many outsiders in the village these days.
When Mrs. Hallett comes back a second time, we get more information about her understanding of who and what her son is, as well as more of that good old 70s racism.
What did you decide for the tea?
Not a glass of that thick, sweet wine you people use in your religious rituals? Or aren't you old enough to drink wine? You told my son 14, you told me 13 now. Which is it to be?
13.
And brilliant. As so many of your people are.
And then Rynn tries to placate her with an apology and offers to make her some tea. As Hallett goes to leave, she realizes that the jelly jars do not have the seals, and they are no good without them. She insists that Rynn let her down in the cellar. She pulls back the carpet that's covering the cellar door and proceeds to go down. She makes a horrifying discovery, and as she tries to leave the cellar, she knocks the beam loose. The door hits her on the head, and she falls down the stairs and dies. And I found this part of the movie so intriguing when I was younger as to what in the world was down in the cellar. And I kind of figured, well, she likes being alone so much, she actually went and offed her parents herself. And that really, I don't want to say intrigued me, but
that doesn't sound right.
That really kind of shocked little, 11 or 12-year-old me back then. And it's not exactly the case, but we don't know for a long time what the mystery of the cellar is. And that really sucked me into this movie and why it was something that I would wait to see again when it played.
It's time for another tangent.
And just as a little aside here, this is a movie that I probably didn't see again. It's kind of like some of those early first episodes I did of the show. It wasn't a movie that kind of sat in my head for years and that I obsessed about and all that. It was something that I liked, and I liked when it would replay on TV. But when we got Xfinity and had on demand, I saw it pop up, and it popped up on MGM HD. And so I watched it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember really liking this movie. And so when I decided to do it for the show as a lead-in to Taxi Driver, I was stunned that I couldn't find it anywhere. It does not show up on Just Watch streaming anywhere. If you try to find it on Amazon or via the Fire TV stick, which actually, searches numerous streaming sites, it doesn't show up. And my only option was to rent it through Xfinity, and I was kind of confused as to why it had been available so readily for so long and then wasn't anymore until I hit play on the movie and the MGM logo popped up. And we recently lost that channel, that MGM HD channel. I don't know what has happened to it. I figured, like a lot of other studios, they were setting up their own streaming site, which may in fact be the case, but when I looked online to check availability for MGM HD, it just listed other cable outlets. So I don't know what happened, but I actually I spent money on the movie, which I am loath to do, as you all know, so that's my little aside for that. Rynn finds herself in a jam at this point and has to get Mrs. Hallett's old, I don't know if it's a Rolls Royce or a Bentley or something, her old fancy car off of her property. She's trying to start the car, and a kid dressed up like a magician is riding by on his bike. He decides to stop by and give her a hand, and this is Mario, played by Scott Jacoby.
Is that your magic wand?
Oh, it's my cane. I'm a cripple.
I guess I should say I'm sorry.
Why? It's not your fault.
Who was a mainstay of 70s and 80s TV movies and TV shows and regular movies, along with his brother Billy Jacoby, who goes by Billy Jane now. I think they're half brothers. And Scott Jacoby was in a TV movie that I need to see called Bad Ronald. It's supposed to be one of the better, and I don't remember watching it as a kid. Maybe I did. I think it's recently gotten a new Blu-ray release, so hopefully it'll show up streaming somewhere. And that's something I'll get into at some point, is TV movies. I may have mentioned that. So Mario is Officer
That doesn't sound right.
Officer...
Do you have a name, officer?
Oh, sure, yeah, sorry. Name's Miglioriti.
Miglioriti.
Yeah, you got it. But call me Ron.
Miglioriti. It's a nice name.
It's Italian. It's hard for most Americans.
Officer Miglioriti's nephew. Officer Mig is played by Mort Schumann, who apparently was a really famous singer-songwriter. He wrote Viva Las Vegas and a whole bunch of other songs, mostly performed by other people. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a songwriter. I only know him from this movie. I can't say that I recognize him from any other acting roles. Obviously, I've heard his songs, over the years, but really interesting. Mario helps Rynn out and takes the car into town. He knows whose car it is. He knows that something's up. He doesn't press her too hard. He obviously kind of likes her. And he gets himself embroiled in this mystery at this point. Officer Mig is a sympathetic character to Rynn. He kind of rescues her one time when she is in town, and Frank Hallett offers to drive her home. She gets a ride with Officer Mig instead. But he is also suspicious about the whereabouts of Rynn's father. This eventually brings us to one of my favorite parts of the movie, and again, another part that as a kid really worked for me. Her father does make an appearance, and I don't want to spoil it, although I don't know how easy this is for anybody to be able to see right now, but he makes an appearance, and this satisfies Officer Mig and gets some of the heat off of Rynn's back for a while. Frank Hallett remains a threat. He wants to know what has happened to his mom, and he returns to Rynn's house while Mario is there. He pushes Mario around, he's bullying the both of them, and then he lets slip another racist slur, and that is just too much for Mario.
I'm a wop. Wops carry knives, right? Guinea, Dago, wop.
Easy, son, easy. I take it back. I take it all back.
What do they call guys like you hang around little girls, huh? A pervert? You know, if I stick this in your guts, all the cops will do is thank me.
I'm gone.
I think you better get the hell out of here. Get out of here!
Of course, Rynn and Mario both realize that at some point Frank is going to return, and when he does, it is up to Rynn to handle the situation on her own. Now, the movie got some flack back then because of a nude scene that the producers were really pushing hard to have Jodie Foster do. And of course, she was 13. She was not comfortable with this. Obviously, her mom was not going to let her do it. But much like what happened in Taxi Driver, which we'll discuss on that episode, Jodie's older sister, who was like 20 or 21 at the time, would stand in as her body double. And of course, as a kid, I had no idea about this because they didn't show this part on TV. They were very similar in height and build. And so her sister has a little brief nude scene in this. These days, this probably wouldn't be done at all to even imply that person this age was getting naked and sleeping with a boy that was a little bit older than her. But it created a little bit of a stir back then, and kind of retroactively, Jodie Foster was not happy about the inclusion of that scene and its implication that she was nude. You can kind of tell that it's not her in one shot. This, combined with the role that she played in Taxi Driver, brought some heat onto her and her mom and what they were allowing her to do and what kids this age should be allowed to do in movies, even though it's make-believe. And it, I think, is what held up the distribution for the movie a little bit. There were problems getting distributors to take it. I don't know if that was the whole problem or if it was just the movie itself. I still like the movie. I see its faults, obviously, more clearly now. It plays sort of like a TV movie or like a stage play, which I think was one of the original intents of the author of the book that it's based on. He wrote the script for this, and I think originally he was intending to write a play based on the novel. So it has that feel. Most of the action takes place in this house. Most of the time it's with one or two characters. It's very dialogue driven. But I sort of liked movies like that when I was younger, and it made me think about going and seeing Death Trap in the movie theater, and I still don't know why. And I do know why, but if you've seen Death Trap, I haven't seen it in years, but it stars Michael Caine and Christopher Reeve and Diane Cannon, and it's based on a play, and it's filmed like a play, on purpose, like a play. The reason I went to see it at 13 years old is because it had Superman in it. And the movie was rated PG. It was okay to go see, but I don't think my parents or myself really understood anything about the movie, the plot, or what happens in it, because it's probably not something that I would normally have seen. But anyway, this, for some reason, on this last viewing, that made me think of that memory of seeing Death Trap in the theater. But the idea of the movie, this thought of Rynn living on her own, left to her own devices.
Oh, you're a pretty good cook.
Is that so surprising?
Well, I only meant for being 13.
How old do you have to be before people start treating you like a person, huh?
The subtext was pulled out that this is about child independence, and, you know, if a kid is capable of somehow earning money or having money and doesn't need their parents, then why not let them live on their own? But I think it's just more about being an individual. She is, quote unquote, homeschooled. She doesn't go to the football games, which everybody else in town is so concerned about. She likes living in this house by herself, and I can totally relate to that. She is referred to as an outsider on more than one occasion, and that's more directed at her race and or religion. But I think she enjoys that. She enjoys being that outsider and being independent and thinking for herself.
I'm not going to play their game.
Would that be so awful?
The game is pretending, you know? It's like going through the motions of living without really living.
Well, what about school?
School is having people tell you what life is and never finding out by yourself.
Yeah, but kids have to go to school.
Why?
Okay, so your father taught you. Everybody doesn't have a father like yours. Everybody can't be like you.
If I'd listened to them, I'd be like them.
Damn. You keep saying them, like everyone's out to get you.
Maybe they are.
Well, you gotta trust somebody.
And for some reason, this bothers most other people. And I guess I relate to that, being an introvert in a world of extroverts where if you're not socially outgoing or talkative, then you are considered strange. So I think as a kid, that's probably the main reason why I glommed onto this, and to this day is probably why I still appreciate it. And I understand her desire to be left alone. Okay, let's wrap this up with the entry in the Psychotronic Encyclopedia of Film. It's on the same page as the entry for Let's Scare Jessica to Death, which I think is the last one that I read for one of these episodes. Here we go. The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane, 1977 AIP, Canada. Producer Zev Braun. Director Nicholas Gessner, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. Screenwriter Laird Koenig. 15-year-old Jodie Foster is the 13-year-old girl of the title. She lives alone in an isolated house and kills people who threaten her, with Martin Sheen. And that is one of the shorter entries in this book. A little bit spoilery, but since you don't know who she kills, I won't worry about it too much. And she wasn't 15 at the time. She was the same age as the character in the movie. Once again, come on, Michael, do your damn research. Okay, that is the end of this episode. Up next is Why Didn't I Rent This? On The Gate. And hopefully shortly after that, the Season 2 premiere, which will be now nearly 3 months after the season finale of Season 1 of Wake Up Heavy, will be on Taxi Driver. So stay tuned for that, stay groovy, and don't forget to wake up heavy. Oh, you know what? I forgot to mention there's kind of a groovy 70s soundtrack in this film that's a little bit out of place, and I think I will play out with a portion of that. All right, thanks again. Goodbye.